Oh, it's been bothering me for months. Bill C-63 in Canada, Trudeau's so-called Online Harms Act, which is basically a censorship law. It is despised by the people. Nobody wanted it other than people in the professional grievance industry who were delighted about it. But I was disappointed but not surprised to see that the official Jews of Canada have endorsed C-63. I know why. It's a combination of reasons. For one thing, they get massive grants from Justin Trudeau, as do most ethnic groups in this country. So, you know, if you pay a lobby group hundreds of thousands of dollars, odds are they'll support you when you ask for their support. So it's a shame that the Jewish community sold out to Trudeau for a few bucks. A more friendly interpretation would be that Jews are so desperate for relief from the wave of anti-Semitism out there that they'll cotton on anything. And if they look at a law that says we'll ban mean words online, well, why not support it? Well, there's some good reasons why not to support it. And that's on the Canadian side. The United States did something not as dramatic. They didn't bring in a massive censorship law, but what they did do is adopt an official definition of anti-Semitism. I mean, that's useful. What is anti-Semitism? The government has an opinion. Each of us can have an opinion. I know why the American Congress did that, because they're appalled by Hamas. They want to show their solidarity with the Jewish community, but same thing. When the government gets into the hurt feelings business, it's not going to end well. I am sure that the American Congress is well-meaning, and there might even be some people who are well-meaning who support Trudeau's censorship, but I'm pretty sure I know how it's going to be used. Take a look at this video from some nameless Canadian cabinet minister. Really, their identities really aren't important. There's only a handful of Canadian cabinet ministers who make decisions. Take a look at this announcement of, what, $250 million. Actually, it's altogether more than $1 billion to crack down on the human emotion called hate. Take a look.
Today's investment of $1.2 million for Building Bridges workshops will further enhance our Team Canada approach to combating hate. By supporting victims and communities by making it easier to report hate crimes, to provide resources and tools for community organizations to support victims of hate, addressing the significant knowledge gap that exists in the Canadian hate crimes landscape, including information on the rights and freedoms guaranteed by the Charter, teaching investigation techniques on how to recognize hate crimes, developing strategies for outreach and engagement with communities who experience hate, and by providing fundamental knowledge to better equip police so that they can understand, so that they can investigate and support prosecutions related to hate crime. These workshops are providing communities across the country with the tools and resources they need to truly meet the moment and fight back against the alarming rise in hate that we're witnessing. You know, we're at a pivotal moment when it comes to addressing hate in our country, and the work is urgently needed now more than ever. And while some so-called leaders are openly and recklessly inciting hate by embracing white nationalist and far-right extremist ideologies, we are doubling down on our commitment to protect Canadians from this intolerance and hate. Because we know at the end of the day, hatred is an extremely serious problem facing Canadians, and it is incumbent upon us as responsible leaders to deliver and invest in a serious response for Canadians.
So there are literally right now hate encampments, hate marches at the University of Toronto, at McGill, at University of British Columbia, at universities across Canada, across America, and in some parts overseas as well. You don't need to spend hundreds of millions of dollars teaching people how to find hate. There's a lot of it out there, but did you catch that phrase she used? That she's going after the far right. Is it the far right that's having hate marches? It is not. It's the woke left in coalition with Islamist extremists, which is surely not what she meant. So what the Liberals are doing is they're taking advantage of people being afraid of hate, hate from Hamas, hate that turns into violence, and saying, yes, let's pass an anti-hate speech law, but they're giving it away. But we're going to go after the right wing, the far right. Of course, they call anyone they don't like far right. They call the truckers the far right. We don't actually need hate speech laws to deal with Hamas riots. We have all the laws we need already for what the real problem is. The real problem, for example, is trespass. People on property they don't have the right to be. People setting up encampments, shantytowns, tents. There are rules against that already. People are assaulting each other, sometimes with sticks or worse. That's in the criminal code as assault, mischief. There may even be some anti-terrorism laws that come into effect. Of course, as you know, in Canada, it's against the law to facilitate or harbor or instruct or to finance terrorism. You want to make sure that you don't make that charge willy-nilly, but it's on the books. You also have the right to deport foreign provocateurs. What I mean by that is people who are here on temporary work permits or temporary student visas who, instead of working or studenting, decide to go in the middle of the city and shout epithets at Jews. They have no right to be here for any reason other than to work or to study. We can deport them. And of course, universities themselves have their own policies that go far beyond what the criminal code does. You are not allowed to intimidate people. You're not allowed to cause hurt feelings. I mean, universities have these hair-trigger microaggressions. If they actually meant any of it, my point is, I'm not for microaggressions and all that, but my point is we don't need more laws because the laws we have right now are enough. There's no need for new laws. Just enforce the existing ones. Why would anyone think that police would enforce hate speech laws, which are by definition subjective and political, when they won't enforce objective criminal laws like no camping on the lawn at University of Toronto, no taking over a public space at the University of British Columbia? And why do Jews or conservatives or anyone else think that hate speech laws would be used against their opponents as opposed to against themselves? Why would any Jew think that hate speech laws would be used against Palestinians or Hamas people? When you hear the demonization of Jews and Israel by the left, obviously it will be Israel and Zionists who are going to be prosecuted. There's an enormous campaign right now to equate Zionism with racism, Zionism with some abominable belief system. Zionism is just the belief that the Jewish people have a Jewish homeland in the Jewish Holy Land, as they did for thousands of years, as the Jewish temples in the Bible attest. To deny Zionism is to deny the central characteristic of Judaism. That is being demonized so harshly in Canada that in no time at all there will be some human rights judge or real judge who says, yes, we must get rid of Zionist hate. You know it's coming. We know that police can dismantle these illegal encampments. In Toronto, for example, a few years ago, police deployed 100 officers, 50 police cars, and even riot horses to shut down. Remember that one restaurant, Adamson's Barbecue? He refused to close his barbecue restaurant during the pandemic lockdowns. And 100 police came storming in to shut him down. It's a political choice that Canadian politicians and police are making to abide Hamas. It's not a lack of laws. I think there's a correlation between politicians refusing to enforce current criminal laws and those who want new hate speech laws. I don't think it's a coincidence, at least in Canada. It's a misdirection. It's a placebo to pretend that they're doing something about the real problem while they're actually Trojan horsing in censorship plans for other purposes. The Liberal government doesn't have to invest $237 million to find hate in Canada. They can just go to universities. They can go to the streets of any major city and find it. They're stealing away, they're stowaways, trying to hitch their plans to the facts the conservatives and Jews care about, but they're bringing in censorship for their own reasons.